Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies both new and old with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right, and to avoid any lazy negativity, we are making this a drinking game.
A drinking game.
That's right. So anytime you hear this fantastic sound, that means we said something negative or stupid, and Dave decided that we have to drink. And for you at home, please play along with us and have some fun.
If you think that's loud here, you should hear it in our headphones. So pour yourself a glass. Join us. Give it up for the films we love, and perhaps the films that need some love. I don't know. Do they need some love this week? I thought we had some really good choices.
Me too. I was proud of this as well. I think we might need to throw some love somewhere along the way.
We'll throw some love. Okay, my friends. So we are going to do a podcast today featuring 3 films from the surprisingly decent film year of 2009. That is right. We are going to talk about District 9, a sci-fi hit that I believe it definitely carries some weight today. Pretty good. We knew it was good when it came out in 2009, but now here we get to look at it 11 years later, and man, it still packs a punch. We are then going to look at the next film in our sequence, which is Invictus! Morgan Freeman as Nelson Mandela. Pretty good. Clint Eastwood directed. And then our final film for our Was It Really That Bad segment, we're going to look at a film that made so much fucking money, and then 2 years later, everybody said, was it really that good? And then 2 years after that, it was it good? So we're going to give that one some love, or not, at the end of this episode. But first, let's send it over to John for some shout-outs.
All right, the shout-outs, as usual, our beer master, our beer brewer. I miss his brews. His name is Carlos Barroso. Give him a follow on Instagram at cbarrozobar2019. That's CBARROZOBAR 2019. And as always, the music here on this episode and every episode is provided by the artist Dasein. Find them on soundcloud.com/Dasein-artist. That's DASEIN. All right, you guys. Fucking do it.
We're going to have some fun, but first, remind everybody that there's going to be a parental advisory this episode, especially after last week. Second of all, about last week, I just want to remind everybody that I think Steven Spielberg is a fantastic filmmaker. And what John said, what John said,
fantastic filmmaker with a 99.5% success rate.
What John said about me thinking he's bad because he, quote, only makes films for old grandpas or whatever you said. I don't entirely think that's true. Just maybe this past decade and then once in 1979. And, but anyway, let's get back to the show.
I mean, he directed that film well. It was the script.
Did he direct? Great.
Don't you blame the writer.
What are you watching?
Blame the writer for that one.
What are you watching?
What do I watch this week? I watched my parents are up here visiting me where I'm doing my little isolation thing now. So we didn't watch as much stuff. I watched our movies. I have been plugging away hard since the beginning of this whole fucking thing on Star Trek: The Next Generation. That may have explained some of my passionate arguments for the Star Wars franchise in our franchise episode. Yep, I'll drink to that. It's great. I love that show. I feel like been helpful. Always those really positive philosophical wrap-ups. It's a little thoughtful. I also watched the movie Drive the other night.
Yeah.
Which I had not seen in a while. And man, I was just in the mood for something dark and moody and really visual. And
well, that'll do it.
That's a mood film. Sometimes you're just in the mood to see. It's not just something that you're like, hey, what are you watching? But it's like if you're in the mood for it, you know?
It's like, my mood's a little bit light today. Yeah.
I'm reading the Hannibal Lecter series now, the Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, and Hannibal. And I wasn't quite ready to just sit down and read last night. I wanted to watch something. So I was like, what is dark and fucked up and will have me thinking about somebody's going to fuck somebody up and kill somebody by the end of this movie? And it was the one I chose. It was fun. I hadn't watched that since it came out. Really good.
Huh.
What about you guys?
Dave?
I just pulled the handbrake on a joke I was going to make when John said that. I think it must have been bad if I pulled the handbrake on it.
Oh, no.
I'm actually, it's funny. You should, you mentioned you're going through Next Generation. I'm doing Voyager at the moment because they
Nice,
just
dude.
had their anniversary.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Again,
You guys have
there's
just
some good- there's
solidified
some good
this as
stuff
the
in it.
coolest podcast out there on the planet.
Oh, they know. They know.
They're
No,
great.
I know. I love
they're
Star
great
Trek.
to
I love
put
Star
on.
Trek.
They're great to put on when you're working on stuff or something, and it can run the
All
background.
right, you don't have to
can tune in,
downplay it.
tune
It's a
out.
fantastic series.
It is. It is. Don't know about it ending well, but anyway.
Yeah, all right.
I've been. I actually caught the rest of Artemis Fowl that I was very very hard on last
You
week.
were.
Yeah,
You Spielberged that criticism.
it turns out I was right.
Whoa! No love for Ken Branagh and Judy and everybody and Paul.
Hey, I
Oh,
respect
they-
you for
like-
sticking with it if you thought it sucked
they-
that much.
It did, and I went back because I'm like, okay, I need to because the first I think 20 minutes of it they've taken from a different book, and there's like scenes in it that doesn't make sense and stuff like that. So I thought I didn't give this a fair go. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna watch it to the end like I normally do, and I mean there's a couple of good little moments in it, but if you've read the book and enjoyed the book, I don't think this is for you.
Wow.
Huh. Know less about it is what Dave is saying. The least you could possibly know going in.
That and the movies we had to watch, I watched. So
Not an
yeah,
adaptation
sweet.
for the book readers.
No.
Like that's
it's
a
not.
decision you got to make ahead of time. We're not making this
Yeah.
one for the people who read this book. Fuck it. What else you got?
Find that on Disney Plus. So I'm still
Don't find
I'm
it.
still-
Don't do it.
I'm still all over the place with my movie. We had a 60th birthday in the house, and I'm quarantining out here. So
Happy birthday.
we lost,
Happy Father's Day, real fast to all
That's
the
right,
dads
all the
out there.
fathers,
Yeah.
dad.
Happy Mother's Day to Jeff.
Happy-
What?
Oh,
How is
Jeffrey.
that not a buzz? How do you not buzz yourself with that? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so anyway,
You know
so
that movie?
I watched these 3 films with days to spare. I actually had a cushion. I really was surprised. I've seen almost all of the 5 Bloods, but I had to split it up. I couldn't finish it. I had to leave it, and
Really
then
wanna
everybody
watch-
else in the
I'm
house
excited to watch
and
that.
everybody else in the house wanted to watch it, and they found out that I heard it. So we're trying to figure out when to finish it together. But it's great. Gotta love Spike. It's really good. It's really good. So I just can't wait to get around to finishing that. I started Pen 15. I watched 2 episodes of Dance Moms. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos. Twitter's been a mess. That's what I've been up to. So I didn't see
Whole lot
too
of
much
focus.
outside of
Whole
this
lot
film.
of focus,
A lot
it
of
sounds
focus.
like.
Yeah, really taking the focus away. All right,
Wow.
guys, let's share a little bit. We got a little bit of movie news. So last week I gave a little bit of a it wasn't really a rant. I just felt bad that The King of Staten Island is coming out to on-demand rental only. It was $20. We decided as a group that we probably wouldn't spend $20 on it, but other people would. And of course, it was number 1 on the rental scale. So it's making some money back. Who knows what their goal is or anything, if they're going to scale it back to $15 and then $10. Like if it's going to be a sliding scale, the longer you wait, the cheaper it'll be until it's just on Hulu or YouTube or something. So we'll see what happens with that. So that was pretty good. But it went straight to on demand, but theaters are reopening, guys. I don't know if you've seen the news.
Yeah,
I got an email from the president and CEO of AMC Theaters. I don't know if you guys got that. They said
I
it's a-
got that. Yes. I was
They
like, he
said
sent
it's
me an
a-
email personally.
Yeah, he listens to our
How did he
podcast.
get
No,
my email?
Why does he want my
Loves-
credit card number?
loves the pod.
I didn't know he was Nigerian.
Thinks every movie discussion should be a drinking game. So anyway, they basically said, don't worry about us financially, which is really interesting for them to say. They're like, we got a huge investment, so we're good money-wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to open up by, I think, this 3rd weekend in July. The weekend, I think, is the 21st. All AMC movie theaters will be open. Actually, it was really funny. On Thursday, Alamo Draft Houses made an announcement that they were going to require every single guest to wear a mask. And AMC and Regal were vehement, and Cinemark, but fuck Cinemark. Don't go to a Cinemark. If you guys are in Texas or wherever, just type in their political stuff. Don't go to Cinemark. Fuck them. But
Buzz
AMC and
Cinemark
Regal,
right now, Dave.
That's right.
Take that, Cinemark.
They love Ted Cruz at Cinemark. Anyway, so Regal and AMC,
Who's Ted Cruz?
they said they weren't gonna force people to wear masks, but their employees had to. Within 24
and the internet
hours,
lost their mind.
the
Yes.
internet lost their fucking mind. Within 24 hours, everybody was like, "You're not even protecting your staff." Like they're talking about their air filters, and everybody basically said, "Go fuck yourself." So within 24 hours, both AMC and Regal now have said that every single person who walks into these movie theaters is going to have to wear a mask. They're not going to sell past
and you know
50%.
you know why they said that? Because the demographic that lost their mind is the exact demographic that's going to go and see Tenet.
That's right. It's really
The
strange.
demographic
So
that went,
this-
well, fuck yeah,
this
I'm not going then,
whole
is the
thing-
exact demographic that's going to go and see Tenet.
And that's the next
Yeah.
piece of news. So Tenet is definitely coming out July 31st to every single theater. The good news for it, even though they're not going to be sold to more than 50% every theater, first of all, 50%, like at that point, just fucking pack the house. You know what I mean? Like 50% for 3 hours in a tiny theater. I don't know what kind of filters are in the wall, but the difference between 50% and 80%, who cares? But there's not going to be many other things. So you're going to go to AMC, and if there's 12 movie theaters, all 12 of them are going to be Tenet. So Christopher Nolan, this is a big win. This is a huge win for Christopher Nolan. And he got the PR blitz. He got the PR blitz because he said it was going to open July 13th, and they're like, no, we need to delay the film. Coronavirus. We're going to delay it 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we're gonna just
They're doing the responsible thing. Oh, wait, no, they're not.
And then they're gonna they delayed it. They're like, we need to delay it for the concerns. 2 weeks. That's it. Everybody else.
So how do you
Wonder Woman went to October.
How do you feel about this? Are you guys gonna go see movies? Are you gonna go?
I don't think so.
Mask and I'm gonna put on a mask and go see a movie.
I usually go see
You're-
movies really late at night anyway, so I think I mean, I really miss going to them, of course. I know they're spraying that fog all over shit between between viewing.
I do the
Who
Sunday
knows what
mornings.
we're breathing in? Doesn't
Nobody
that
This is
kill
the only thing.
mosquitoes?
This is the only thing I'm a little nervous about, and I saw somebody make this point online. I have never seen a movie manager walk in and kick out some asshole for talking during a movie, so I have little faith that they have enough incentive to actually uphold these regulations. What are they going to do? Somebody's going to tell them to go fuck themselves, and they're going to be like, "Oh, that sucks." It's that Tom Segura.
Calling your theater usher on $6 an hour is not taking one for the fucking team in this case. Sorry, guys.
So I keep trying to find out if they're going to have security there. Like I haven't been able to find anything about the way they're going to enforce these rules because, I mean, we all live in America, so we know that some of the people who I think are going to be very excited to go to the movie theaters are also going to be trying to make a point that we don't need to be taking this too seriously. I'm in a movie theater. I'm out and about.
Right.
And what are we going to say to that person? Are we going to walk up to them and say, "Excuse me, can you put your mask on?" Most people aren't going to do that. So I don't know. I'm nervous.
I don't think that usher wants to
them,
fight.
you get COVID.
You can't even punch them. Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna bring my COVID stick.
Buzz
it's
myself
7 feet
advocating
long.
violence. That's not cool.
Guys, no disrespect to the youth. Love the youth. I wish I had this as a job. But let's be real. A lot of those ushers checking tickets are like 17 years old. Do they want the fight? Do they want that? Sir, you need a mask. What did you say to me? And then they got to really make some choices after that. Anyway, who knows? But that's what's going on. Christopher Nolan somehow got $205 million worth of investment. He bought a plane. He bought a 747 just to blow up. He built a set 85 miles from a city.
Yeah.
I mean,
his
I want to see
cast
this
is probably
movie
as
so
isolated.
bad.
His cast is probably isolated as much as the NBA is going to be in Orlando. But yeah, I'm very, very curious. So Christopher Nolan, he decided that he's going to be the one who decides when movie theaters reopen.
Yeah, how apropos is that?
Everything has to do with Tenet.
How apropos is that he's going to be. Christopher Nolan will be the only person in the entertainment industry who profits this year. Actually, Shank,
really well. Hey, but The Invisible Man, our movie. The last time we went to the movie theater was The Invisible Man, and the way back. And Invisible Man, it's like $365,000 a week, which it's weird that we're in the thousands, but you're welcome. It's because of us. We did the podcast. We told people to go see it.
If she does end up with an Oscar nomination, I'm taking some credit for this.
We all talked quite a bit about her. She's great in that movie, you guys.
This is 16 weeks.
This
is 16 weeks in a row. I don't know a lot about the Academy, but those voters needed something to watch in the past 16 weeks. I bet you they just watched it. I think she's going to get a nomination. I think it's in the bank.
Let's do it.
Okay, anyway,
Let's do it.
Other news. Speaking of the Oscars, pushed back to April. That's right. They're pushed back 2 months, but they're I don't even know what the fucking qualifications are. Who cares? But yeah, it's going to be in April. The King of Staten Island, we talked about doing really, really well. Ian Holm. That one got me right in the feels. I remember when he was in The Hobbit, I was like, yeah, we lost an Ian Holm.
As I texted two of my close friends, one of them replied, "A far green country." And the other one replied, "I think he's ready for another adventure." So
some Bilbo Baggins references.
A little Bilbo Baggins references there. It touched me. I mean, we all felt it. I thought of Ash as well. I've replied to you guys.
Yeah, I thought about Ash.
Still think about him quite a bit in those roles. Man,
yeah,
good actor.
Shakespearean actor. Wasn't in movies till he was like 40. Good for him.
Also, the one thing that nobody else in this podcast is excited about, we got a Snyder Cut teaser trailer
We got yes.
this week.
Yes.
Yes. The movie that the man that no one was excited about 2 years ago, suddenly they can't get enough of him.
Zack Snyder, give us movies, man.
Yeah.
We need them. Yeah, a lot of announcements about sequels and trequels and everything. We got Deadpool 3, we got Mamma Mia 3, but not film related. But come on, guys, Elliot Stabler is fucking back, baby. There is a Law and Order spinoff called Organized Crime, and it's not even just Chris Maloney. It's actually Elliot Stabler. He's gonna come back and say, "I drank so much wine and I stretched a lot during my vacation. I'm so much better now." If he comes back the same, if he comes back like still angry all the time, I'm gonna be like, "Dude, what the fuck was the point of you got to go back to rehab, bro?" Like I want him to be healed. I want him to be like full circle. I want that origin story coming like in a couple years as like the one season, 12 episodes to a movie.
You can't have a show leader that everyone hates. I mean, The Wire's already done that.
God. Oh my gosh. Should we just
Damn you, McNulty?
This is
guys, let's do it.
I also saw something this week, which I think is crazy. The Cannes Film Festival, Cannes, however you fucking want to pronounce it.
Cannes.
They are decided. Yeah, I couldn't help. They have decided to, because they missed the festival this year. Everyone knew that.
Gotta do it.
I know. I had to do it. Come on. They have decided to do a big virtual festival. It is this week. It is taking place in the last 5 days of the Cannes film market. I believe it's starting tomorrow. I think it's the 22nd through the 26th in 15 virtual screening rooms. They're going to be trying to do everything. So I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. Biggest festival on planet Earth that determines basically what happens for the rest of the year. It's one of the cornerstones in the film festival market. It's one of the early ones that happens right after Sundance, usually in the spring. So this is pretty crazy that they have embraced it.
I'm just impressed.
Let's do it.
I'm just impressed they're taking digital entries because up until last year they were insisting on fucking Blu-rays.
I know, which fucking killed me. If you're an indie filmmaker, you're like, God, do I really have time to send a huge package with all this stuff to the Cannes Film Festival? I don't know.
And it's like, thanks Adobe, where the fuck am I going to get a Blu-ray software now? Like,
yeah, nowhere.
That's for Adobe.
It's kind of forcing some of the old school stuff. Anyone who follows the film world, there have been debates in the past several years in the Cannes Film Festival about whether or not major streaming platform produced movies should be able to compete because they already have distribution technically, whether or not what was the one that Pedro Almodovar was fighting about? Was that what it was? The debate was about that Netflix films should not be able to compete because technically they are already.
Yeah, because the idea was that they would find distribution, and it already had its distribution.
Well, they had to meet the screening requirements of screening for a certain period in France to qualify for the festival. Yeah, and they weren't doing that.
Yeah, so it's been an interesting barometer, some whatever metaphor measuring device for the temperature and the weather in the film world. And this is interesting because everyone was like, what the fuck are film festivals going to do around the world? I personally have been dealing with some trying to get our films in, and some of them are canceling completely. Some of them are freaking out and they're trying to just postpone. Some of them are just leaning into virtual. But we talked about this a few weeks ago about how critics are responding pretty well to the major film festivals when they're going virtual. So I'm excited that Cannes has taken on this responsibility because I think if they do it and they pull it off well, and what happens in the aftermath critically and distribution-wise, I'm not going to say it's going to make everything okay, but it could have a huge impact on people finally saying, all right, those are the films of this year. I'm going to see them virtually if that's the only way I'm going to see them.
Also, as long as they don't get to the point where they're like, okay, this is cheaper and easier to do this all online and we don't need to have a festival, because like I miss going to festivals. You have the meetup events, you have the networking events, you have like all those things where you're face-to-face with people. I mean, we all miss face-to-face at the moment, let's face it. Jesus. But
I want to high-five you guys so bad.
Actually going to a film festival, like, yeah.
I know. So, good stuff for that. Let's fucking do it, you guys. What are we talking about first?
Let's dive in.
Let's talk about the movies of 2009 first, though. Isn't that the year we're talking about?
Yeah, so Dave's random year generator, since not a lot of new films are coming out, it's hard for us to go to the cinema and see new things. So Dave's random year generator came up with 2009. Now, 2009 was basically, this is the problem about following the Oscars. Like, there needs to be some sort of other like tentpole for how to scale a movie moving forward, like, or a movie year, that is, of like what was good this year. Was it a good year in general? It's part of the fun that we get to have of going back on these movie years. 2009 was actually a really good year, but you wouldn't know it because the Oscars was just The Hurt Locker versus Avatar. If you remember, it was James Cameron, Catherine Bigelow. They were married for 3 years in the 80s, and apparently that mattered a lot. So that's basically that's like the end of the year was that. And then we very quickly forgot that, talking about Cannes Film Festival, the huge film that year at the Cannes Film Festival was, sorry, Dave, the Cannes Film Festival.
No, Cannes.
Oh, I fucking nailed it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It was,
Sorry, I can't. Every time you say it.
Big movie at the film festivals that year was Inglourious Bastards, Quentin Tarantino. This is from 2009. Wow. Yeah, what a year. Dave hates Quentin Tarantino. Doesn't make any sense. A Single Man, A Serious Man. Easy to remember. They both came out together. A Serious Man is the Coen brothers, and A Single Man is Colin Firth. What a goddamn role. That is, if you like your Colin Firth, if you miss Colin Firth, and you're like, what happened to the guy from King's Speech? Why is he only doing
Wasn't that Tom
British
Ford's
dramas?
Directorial debut as well? Wasn't that his first fucking movie?
I think that's the case.
God damn it. Julianne Moore's great in it. Keep going. Good movie.
Paranormal Activity was the year of 2009. I remember seeing that in the theater. People were shouting at the screen. That's right.
Those guys did so well.
Spielberg.
That is the best.
Spielberg. Didn't DreamWorks technically release that movie?
Everybody fucking came in. I think that's true. Also, Blumhouse.
Wasn't it sitting on? I think it was sitting on
success.
his shelf for years. DreamWorks bought it and just sat on a shelf, and then somebody saw it and it got passed up the chain years later.
I remember seeing that in theaters. I think that is the highest percentage net profit ever, because it's like a $10,000 budget made over $100 million around the world.
Oh my god!
Precious guys, Precious. What's up? You got The Blind Side.
What's up?
You got Up.
Don't forget about
we already talked about
the
we talked
Human
about Up last year.
Centipede.
Fucking Up, man. The Humans. Jesus Christ. The
Centipede,
Hangover.
it's
Wait,
a
can we
family
just fly
classic.
through 2009? The Hangover. Up in the Air. 2012. Twilight New Moon. Maybe the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. I don't know for sure, but it might be. Twilight New Moon, man. Fuck.
We got The Lovely Bones.
The Lovely Blondes. Julia.
Okay.
Watchmen.
That's right. Crazy Heart. Harry
The
Potter
series was
6. 9 was no good.
Fantastic Mr. Fox. Up in the
Sherlock
Air.
Holmes, The Princess and the Frog, Up in the Air.
500
Star
Days
Trek,
of Summer.
500 Days of Summer, Star Trek, JJ, Star Trek. This is just a race to see how many movies we can name, John.
Okay.
Night at the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian.
So instead of picking all of
So
those
those were
cool
movies.
films,
Zombieland. Yeah.
instead of picking any of those,
Yeah, we didn't pick any of those.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So
we picked 3 movies from that year. We already said them at the beginning. We picked District 9, Invictus, and Avatar. And now we're going to fucking talk about them, which you've been waiting for on the edge of your fucking seat.
no, they just skipped ahead. It's fine.
Yeah, they skipped it.
hope
Welcome
so.
back. And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back. All right, let's talk about District 9
I'm putting the
first.
timestamp way past all of this.
Let's talk about District 9.
A lot of South Africa, a lot of Johannesburg coming up at you guys. District 9 first.
District 9.
I remember seeing this in the theaters. This was a huge surprise. I knew that Peter Jackson had produced it. So I was like, Peter Jackson's produced it. Sci-fi, fantasy, aliens. I'm in. Let's go. Why not? Peter Jackson's producing it. I saw it in Florida, which, if I've seen a movie in Florida, it's already got an uphill battle. And it was fucking awesome. It was so good. Do you guys want to set it up?
No, why don't you? All right. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'll get it started. It's basically a mockumentary as such. It's shot in the style of a documentary. I believe it's the first documentary style film to be nominated for a Best Picture Oscar.
Well, it's like half doc, half that, but yeah,
it's half doc, but it starts the documentary. A lot of the documentary stuff was actually the short film that led to it being made.
Because they stopped doing that about halfway through, but it was really cool.
They came back to it for the end, but
they did.
But it deals with a guy. Basically, aliens have landed above Johannesburg, and it turns out they're all the workers on basically a slave ship, and they don't know where to put these guys, and they put them in a slum district, and these people are charged with maintaining this district, and the plan is to get them out of Johannesburg, so they go in for force evictions.
I mean, they did the really interesting thing. We're going to talk a little bit more about in Invictus, but they did a really interesting thing of they made these aliens are prawns, for those of you a little unfamiliar with the movie. So they almost look like weird, like grown-up cockroaches. They're to our standards for sure, they're fucking gross. They are not nice, and they even say they're bottom feeders, they rob humans. So anyway, what they did is they did something really interesting. So this is 2009, and they said that the spaceship landed 20 years before, which would put it during the end of apartheid, like the very end of it. And we don't need to talk about that too much, but it's the filmmakers and the writers are from Johannesburg. They're from South Africa. But basically what they're doing is
definitely a parallel, yeah.
They're putting a city that legally apartheid, which is segregation, is legal, and it is the way of life. And they put in a third quadrant, and it is the immigrant population, and these immigrants are from space and they're prawns, so it's gross and it's sci-fi and fantasy, but it actually it's sad to say, but it kind of makes it more digestible that now they are the scum. So it's almost like we just keep deflecting like who is more superior and who is more inferior, but the movie doesn't even have to really talk about that too much. You know that's going on. You know they're treating them like worse than immigrants, like a weird combination between it, like subhuman, like rodent-like, and human. They're like somewhere. They don't respect them. They don't. It's a gross game. It's kind of nasty. Is how they set the backstory for that. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But it sets the stage with this documentary where they're going in on this mission to evict everyone, and then the whole thing just goes fucking sideways in a way that you do not expect, and it's the classic story of making someone who is oppressing someone walk a mile in that person's shoes.
And so I kind of want to talk about that because this week, every week for the past several weeks, especially since all the stuff's been happening in the streets, since George Floyd's killing and the uprising, I have been thinking, as I'm sure a lot of people are, about lots of different anytime this issue gets brought up, lots of different perspectives on it, and trying to question myself and trying to understand how I have acted in the past and how I'm acting now and how I'm interpreting this stuff. And then we watched these two movies specifically. And I was thinking about this the other day, that I was at a protest in Asheville and, Asheville, North Carolina, and it was very peaceful. And then somebody stood up and started yelling, "All lives matter." And it turned out to be a very peaceful interaction. He was upset, but the person who was speaking at the protest wanted to have that conversation. And it kind of made me think that it's still kind of sad that not sad, it just is. There's just a tragedy to it, that there is a normal reaction in a lot of human beings, especially in cultures of dominance. So maybe they're not even the majority. So like in South Africa, in the real apartheid times, as we'll talk about in Invictus, they're not the majority of white people. They were the minority, but they had the status and the power. So there's an inherent tragedy in humans that we do often need to walk in their shoes, as opposed to instinctually extending our empathy to take on their perspective. So this story, and I loved this movie. I'm not discrediting it by any means. I thought it was really fun. Really hit me hard. I remembered that the tone was a little bit off, so it kind of tricks you with thinking that, this is going to be watchable and kind of funny, and then the knife starts turning in your gut, and you start being very uncomfortable. But this is exactly what you said. This is a walk a mile in their shoes thing. The guy he starts becoming part of an alien. He's one of the only humans that can actually take on the DNA, and he hasn't died, so you get to look at it through his eyes. And I was just thinking about storytelling, just big picture. I wonder if we're going to see as many of these kinds of stories as we move forward with what's happening right now, because I think one thing that I can't stop thinking about is that we shouldn't have to do that anymore. There should be this expectation of, is it necessary to still literally walk in someone's shoes before you start taking an issue seriously? Or I don't know. So I was thinking about that.
It absolutely is, because if you stop having movies like these, it means we've fixed the problem. And if you think you fixed the problem, you've never fixed the problem. The problem is never going away. There's always going to be something.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to keep reminding ourselves of this stuff constantly. And I feel like, in particular, these two films, and to a lesser extent Avatar as well, because of the environmental message behind it, these are great films to watch, especially at this time right now.
Well, you're right. I mean, you're right, dude. And that's literally what stories are for, isn't it? Like we want to, it's one way that everyone can have a transformative experience through reading, listening, watching, whatever, however you're taking and digesting the stories. It is one of our best ways that we can transport ourselves into somebody else's perspective. So this landed for me, dude. I was on board the entire way. And part of it was technical. Keep going. Sorry.
Like, it's Blomkamp's first film.
Yeah.
As well.
He wrote it with his wife. That's cool.
His first directorial feature, and also Sharito Copley, who was
I loved him.
He had never acted before.
What?
Are you serious?
Yeah,
because he's great in Elysium.
They threw him in front of a camera.
Oh my God, he's wonderful.
He's amazing.
He's so good.
Yeah.
So that's our lead character.
At first, yeah, he's the lead. At first, he's a little corny, and I feel like it's played that way on purpose. But by the time you get to the end of it, man, you feel for this guy.
I mean, corny. It would be like if the British Office just went to South Africa for a day and decided to follow him. Yeah. It really felt like The Office sometimes. But it's cool because so we're talking about these heavy things and it's so inherent in it. But they do a really. I don't want to say a good job because that's unfair to the everything else we're talking about. But they do a really interesting thing where they just don't talk about that basically everything we've just been talking about the symbolism and the issues and clearly what the film represents on a thematic level, and the plot is so enticing. I mean, so he's going through a metamorphosis, like he encounters something, some elements that is going to turn him into an alien. So he's basically part human, part alien, and you watch the mistreatment of him as that's going on. Within 30 minutes of the film, he's already going through that. Like, he gets into that sort of shack town that they're all staying in quickly.
He now has to rely on the people that he's oppressed for survival.
Yeah, and it turns into a fucking thriller. So it's so interesting. I don't know the first time I remember a movie pulling this off. I'm sure there's been hundreds of years of this, but it's more and more common now for something to. It's almost like the thriller element. It's almost a different story, and I don't know how they pull off. I don't know how they rounded the corner. I don't remember when it turned into this mockumentary, like seriously straight out of The Office, and all of a sudden it is a gripping sci-fi fantasy thriller. On board with all of the great alien flicks from Alien through Prometheus to every other alien flick.
I think it's when he blacks out at his party. That's what it.
Wait! That is one of my favorite quotes. We keep having these unbelievable quotes. He's been infected with the virus, and his health is now a concern. And he finally sees his wife at the apartment, and they're sneaking in because all the lights are out. And she ushers him in the apartment. He's like, "Listen, I'm gonna get this quote right. Baby, I might have crapped my pants." Boom! Lights come on, and it's a surprise party. He goes, "Baby, I might have crapped my pants." Boom! Surprise! It is. Again, this is.
It's also it's because he's not thinking about it. It's such a throwaway line.
I know, but we know that he's about to undergo a he's about to have a very, very serious thing happen to him. He's about to have blood, but black ink shoot out of him. But it's like. But it's like they have the last opportunity to get some humor and get some irony and get some fun in this movie, and it's like it's so unexpected, and this is such a delightful film that despite how heavy it is so accessible and so
three to 5 minutes later, the teeth start coming out, and when the teeth start coming out, it's all over.
The fingernails and the teeth.
I love how it's teeth. It's always the fingernails and the teeth.
Jeff, I'm glad
or
you
the
said
face
that.
if you're poltergeist.
There's something about like I love. Chris Nolan, someone like that who is a real master of like heightened
who doesn't care
realism.
about coronavirus. Oh, I'm sorry. What were we saying?
He's a real master like that of like heightened realism. It's still compelling, of course. It's extremely compelling, but there's something ambiguous and disturbing about true realism. So using this documentary style to get us into the story, when stuff starts to turn and get strange, it feels like real life, and real life is unexpected. And so it's almost like they have all these other tools at their disposal that they may have just, tripped onto when they finally turn this from a short into a feature. Where did they decide to make the turn? When were they going to start going completely narrative? Yeah. I feel like because they earned all of our trust in the realism of the film, using that mockumentary introduction, the last half of the film, you are never quite sure how you're supposed to feel about it until, for me at least, until that very last moment when it lands.
I remember that in the theater.
Him again. You just think it's just one of those essential times in the storytelling where you know exactly what they were trying to go for. They have brought it full circle. You thought you were going on a different ride at the beginning of this movie, and they brought you to a place of 100% empathy. And I thought it was just, God, it's just, what a unique movie.
It's a really, really good film.
Really good film. Definitely watch it.
I took other notes, but I kind of like leaving it there because, I mean, it's like there are more references, there's more comedy, there's more darkness, there's more theme, there's more sci-fi. And it's like, go along for the ride. This is a fantastic film to rewatch. It works now.
I think everything.
This is probably the only film out of the three that I would recommend watching now, whether or not maybe sometime. But like, I think now is a fine time to watch this film, not because of everything that's going on, but while it's going on, if watching them at the same time, it's just
sci-fi
really
can pull it off, dude. When sci-fi is done well, it can do exactly what this movie is supposed to do. And I don't know. Dave,
I can't believe based on this, they keep stopping him from making an Alien movie. It's like, just let him make the damn Alien movie.
Yeah, Neil.
Oh my God.
Neil, get in there and do it, dude.
Based on our intro, the only things coming out are existing IP, so maybe they will greenlight that Alien film and not the new film. You know what I mean? I feel like next year we're going to get sequels and quequels and everything, man. It's going to be a weird year next year.
Yeah. Avengers Endgame 2.
Well, yeah, it's going to be... exactly.
Return
it's going to be a lot
Iron
of
Man.
that. It's going to be a lot of like Transformers. What number is this? I don't know. Pirates. What number is this? I don't know. Born. What number is this been? Mission Impossible. 7? I don't know. The next one. It's going to be a lot of that.
Weekend at Tony Stark's. They've just got the Iron Man suit with a remote control walking him around.
Yeah. Like, Spider-Man's available, right? We got to make some money. Let's go. We took a loss last year. Come on. We got to sell the hits this year. Guys, that's great. Let's District 9. We're going to take a quick break to refill and pee, and then we are going to stick with South Africa for some Invictus. See you in a second.
We'll be back. All right, let's do it. And we're back.
We're back.
We're back. We're back.
Do you remember We're Back? Do you remember the 1990s animated dinosaur movie? All right, fuck it. Let's do it. Invictus.
Cool. Sticking with South Africa. What a year for South Africa, isn't it?
Segue.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we're still in South Africa. We're still dealing with apartheid. That's what's happening. 2009, Morgan Freeman, Clint Eastwood. Who knew? I kind of want to talk to you guys about that. Some people have given Clint Eastwood a lot of shit for making very... Clearly, he's Republican. He's made some movies that seem to be right of center, and yet he made this movie in 2009, which was interesting to me. Like, I'm not going to say I have his number by any means. I always want to believe the artist is trying to ask questions, not give answers, and clearly he's a competent person. This movie is about Nelson Mandela after he gets out and becomes jail, and he becomes president, and he, while navigating all the complicated, very very complicated problems of trying to adjust South Africa's economy and social politics, he decides not to change the name of the team or the colors of the flag for the rugby team. What is their name again? Shit.
Springboks.
The Springboks. Against all
I know
of
them
the
well.
people, all of the native South Africans who were on the sports council or the sports organization that voted unanimously to change those things. So, gosh, obviously this is about a little bit of making peace with those white people who had oppressed them for so long. It was kind of an interesting watch. I'm not quite sure how we would watch this movie today if this came out. What do you guys think?
I don't know if this was about making peace. This was about uniting a country, which, as a newly
Can you unite a
elected
country
president,
without peace, though? Like,
as a newly elected president, that's his job, to unite the country.
Oh, that's what a newly elected president is supposed to do. I had forgotten.
I think we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what the movie's really about.
Sorry,
because
I'm not from here.
It is a very interesting time for us to. John said if it came out. I mean, just the fact that we watched it this week, it's definitely something that I'm sure while we were watching it, we were like, huh. We chose this movie. We could have talked about a serious man, but here we are. And you know what? Look, the movie tries to do two things, right? And this is not uncommon for biographies. They try to make the movie about one event right? So Lincoln is about passing the 13th Amendment. It's not all of Lincoln's life. It's literally like 3 months of his life leading up to his death to pass the 13th Amendment, which is the last big thing he did as president. That's Lincoln. And this, it's all about a rugby World Cup. The Rugby World Cup in 1995 was in South Africa. They were the hosts. And Nelson Mandela was elected president the year before in 1994. So he was still a polarizing figure, even though the entire world loved him. But he basically came out of jail and then immediately became president of the people who imprisoned him in the first place, with the passing of whatever ended apartheid in 1990, which basically gave 23 million South Africans the right to vote. So they elected Nelson Mandela. And the movie, you can't blame it for trying to use this event to make it as important as possible. It raises the stakes for the movie. It is a fantastic true story that a year into Nelson Mandela's presidency, the South African rugby team won the World Cup, which they were hosting, and they were definitely not favored. And that is historically true.
Yeah, they couldn't win a game.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that people thought they would beat New Zealand, Australia, England, France. There's no way they thought they would beat them. And then a year into Nelson Mandela's presidency. So obviously that's in play. Now, what the filmmaking does, though, is the first hour of this is like set up Nelson Mandela, dramatic stuff. They try to basically spoon feed you as much information and as much context about Nelson Mandela as possible. And ultimately it's fine. But the second half of the movie is a sports movie. And that movie is just a good, feel-good movie. I mean, it's not quite Miracle, but, maybe it is for people from South Africa. It was really, really cool. It was really fun. It was really uplifting. It got you, it got you some butterflies in your stomach. But I don't know about the first half of the movie, which is basically it's trying to get as much Mandela information into you as possible by the time the sports movie comes out. And maybe that's not the best way of approaching this subject, but the movie is fine. Do you guys sort of agree with that assessment?
Not at all.
Ah!
Hit it. Go
Dave,
for
you
it.
dick.
Hit me.
Dude, I mean, the Nelson Mandela thing, he inherited a country that was torn apart, and he realized that the only way to unite them is to find some common ground between these peoples. So he approached these guys and subtly said to them, we need to do this for the country. And I feel like all the stuff that was focused on Mandela was essential to the story because it gave you kind of a feeling of who the man was. And
definitely.
This man was brilliant. As far as a negotiator and someone who became a politician through necessity after spending 18 years in prison for being a terrorist.
I think it was more. Yeah,
it was 20 something.
It's I feel like that was the part of the story that had to be told. And
27 years.
Yeah, 27 years. Sorry, yeah.
No, I agree. I'm not knocking the movie. I'm just saying that's what they did. So my question for you is, did they pull it off? I'm not saying they did a bad job. I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, for me, they pulled it off.
They did great.
I enjoyed this movie a lot.
And Dave, you're the filmmaker. You're all filmmakers, but you have the technical clout to go with it. But all you're talking about is story here. So you have to give Morgan Freeman as Nelson Mandela a lot of credit in this movie that you buy it. You buy the whole thing, and you're this guy. I can totally see him changing the world.
Nelson Mandela himself said the only person that could play me was Morgan Freeman.
Was that before or after he learned that he can't do a South African accent? Because I love Morgan Freeman. I love it when he teams up with Clint Eastwood. Obviously, they've done amazing work together over the years.
Yeah,
I was a little let down by his.
Do you, John? Give me your best South African dialect. How the fuck? I was like, yeah, sure. Why are you sitting there knocking the South African accent?
Well, he didn't sound like everyone else that was around him who was actually South African, so that was one hint.
But I wouldn't have expected that. He's going to sound different than all the rugby players, and then I don't know, whatever.
Why would he not sound South African? He's South African, and he's never lived anywhere else.
Are you basing it on the white South African accent?
Because there's colloquialisms there, and again, there's different there's completely different educational structures. I know he had a fucking accent coach on set.
Hold on a second. Are you both telling me you never thought about the fact that he sounded American in this movie? Are you kidding me?
No, he didn't sound, I don't think he sounded American. No,
not once. No, that never occurred to me at all.
Wow. I mean, I'm not telling you that I'm not telling you he passes the test or anything. I bought that he was Nelson Mandela from South Africa. I didn't think about it, but he didn't sound American to me.
It didn't take me out of the movie.
There's a couple of things,
All right,
even,
good.
like for me, the first 10 minutes of recreated history, where they recreated the actual like the news broadcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought that was really, really well done because like I was 18, 20 when this happened.
Yeah, good exposition.
I feel like
thanks for setting us up. I don't remember any Rugby World Cups for the record. But
I feel like I really appreciate Clint Eastwood as a director. Like what he got out of this was amazing, in my opinion. I was actually really inspired by this film and inspired by a lot of the stuff that like Mandela has like or was quoted as saying. Morgan Freeman is just even better than I hoped it would be as Mandela. Even the supporting cast, like the scene with the two security branches when they pull those two guys in, like the two groups in, sorry, when he pulls in the white South Africans to be part of his security team, and they're all in the office, and it's so fucking tense. You're like squirming on the couch watching this. It's like this is really uncomfortable, and it puts you in a place where you're meant to be.
You would think that the president's security detail, if there were 8 of them, they'd have at least 8 chairs in the room. This was a very small room that the entire presidential security shared.
I feel like this film, that scene stood out to me because I think Clint Eastwood does this a lot, and I like it. He uses very insulated storytelling techniques to tell bigger themes. And he does that with all of his movies. He likes tiny spaces, really close coverage. And he likes to get up in their face and make you feel like you were kind of stuck in the small moments of their life that say loud things. So like that scene was a perfect example. They were all tucked in that room, not just because, you know, the way the script was written, that there were more people coming in than they had thought had happened, but even the way that they covered Mandela. Did he ever give a huge speech outside of he never spoke outside of the football stadium. It never like gave you this like grand coverage that like a news organization would give him.
No, they totally focused on that one event.
Yeah.
There were other speeches made, but they toned them right down. Like it was a quick cut.
So it
moment.
They're moving.
There's an intimacy in Clint Eastwood's movies that I've always really appreciated. And I think it goes throughout his canon. I did not know he directed this until it was over, but I was not surprised. I remember thinking, is this a Clint Eastwood movie? And
I realized just before, but I have some favorite lines here that I have to like get out, and it's like when he's
this movie changed Dave's life.
When they're on that, it was really, really good. I
definitely
felt different.
Worth watching.
There were a couple of laugh out loud moments when it like literally Morgan Freeman is just raising an eyebrow or something, or there's like this half smirk just as he walks off camera. It was
He's so good,
fucking
dude.
directed.
He's so fucking
he
good.
nailed it. But it's like when he's on the stadium shaking everyone's hand, and he's going around, and then he goes into the audience, as in the crowd of the stadium, and he thanks that guy for presenting the new flag. And one of his security walks up and taps him. He tells the president of South Africa, "Sir, you're delaying the rugby."
Yeah,
and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and leaves.
Of course I am. Yeah, I'm sorry. What was I thinking? Yeah.
That's not why he got that. That's not why he got him out of the stands. But that is a good quote. Yeah.
So many good lines. I like the one. I'm going to misquote it, but when she says, "Sir, you're taking a risk leading our people," and he says, "The day that I don't take a risk is the day I'm not fit to lead these people." I thought that was really good. That he was clearly very well educated.
Favorite was the newspaper headline, where he reads it out loud after they had the close call with the van that turns out not to be what it appears to be. And they're like, "What does it say?" And it says he can win an election, but can he run a country? And they're like, "Oh," and he's like, "No, that's a legitimate question."
Yeah,
it's like
cool.
That's a leader. I was like, I will now listen to what you have to say.
You know what's funny? So I watched the first half with Chloe, and I couldn't figure out the feel of it, and it took me a minute to realize there's no music. So the opening sequence, which by the way is Very dramatic opening sequence. Chloe loved the intro song, and so did I. It's very songy, so it has like a little almost like UNICEF-y feel to like the beginning of it, which kind of got me going for a second. I was like, what's going on here? And then he has this scene with Matt Damon, the first scene, where they talk about music, and it's something that connects them, is because they've obviously had different musical South African influences, and after that scene, the entire rest of the movie was underscored with music. And it's one of those, like, I don't know how much it affected the movie, but it was really interesting that Chloe and I both noticed that. And I was like, I can't get the mood. Why is usually the person who does the score can kind of like help you along with like the feel of what the film is. Think about a Hans Zimmer score. It's like he kind of helps let you know like when it's time to feel intense or when it's time to feel mellow. And I was like, where's the score? And then once Damon and Morgan Freeman made the connection, then all of a sudden there's score, there's connection, and even at the times that it was borderline cheesy, it was still effective. Do you know what I mean? It still worked.
Yeah, there was Clint Eastwood usually does his scores, right? Did you guys know that? Clint Eastwood usually
he didn't work very hard this movie.
All of his, because he usually does that like that lone piano kind of sad stuff. Mystic River, $1 Million Baby. Those are all Clint Eastwood, dude. Sully, he does most of his own scoring. So I noticed, I was thinking like, did he do this music? His son Kyle Eastwood did some of it with him. And I'm not. Maybe you guys felt differently about it, but the only time I was taken 100% out of the movie was when that song came on. That was like a singer-song.
I wrote it down. They basically said,
was...
so you're saying we need to beat Australia? And she was like, yeah, that would make things easier. And then it's like, it was just like this weird, cheesy song that came out, like literally just like, so we should beat Australia? I'm like, yeah, we should beat Australia. And then it was just this fucking like Disney song. It was like there's a song in Klaus that starts like, it's like a pop song that they throw in the movie and they basically turn it into a music video out of nowhere. That's really what this felt like in this movie.
It was not good.
I agree, John. I agree.
Thank you. Because I was like totally, I was in the movie and I was ready and I was enjoying a lot of the Clint Eastwood and Kyle Eastwood did a lot of the arrangements apparently of like the music that they had orchestrated and the mixture of like the more indigenous native sounding influence on contemporary film orchestration. No, that's a lot. Sorry, but it worked. It worked for me. It worked through the exposition. It worked through that first half of the movie, and then it got to this point, and that song came on, and I was like, "What the fuck?" It was the only moment in the film that he told me exactly how I was supposed to feel with the lyrics of that song, and that bothered me.
Do you remember what the song was called? I have it in my notes. I totally forgot.
It's
also, the line leading up to it is pretty cool.
We unite, or together we will be strong. What's it called?
Honestly, it's worse. It's so here's the line leading into it. If I can't change when it is needed of me, how can I expect others to? And then the song is called Colorblind. It's actually
colorblind. Yeah, thank you. I was like, oh man.
Oh.
The fact that Scott Eastwood's son did it and it wasn't somebody who chose it, that makes it worse, man. That makes it worse.
It also
especially
made me think about,
love their guns.
We're having a lot of talks about right now. You can't be. He does love his guns. Remember that speech he made to the stool or the chair?
Oh my God, the stool!
Do you remember the stool?
So Buzz the stool. Buzz the stool. Buzz the stool. It was like straight out of a pure. It was like out of a pyramid scheme. Fuck that. Yeah.
All right, so we're all having a lot of conversations about. Yeah, Dave is lost. You're having a big conversation about changing all the culture in America and around the world, and we're all very excited about all of that. I can't wait to see what happens. This is wonderful. One of the things that I could not stop thinking about while watching this movie is that sports, huge sports like rugby, football, American football, international football, these are vehicles of functionalism that just like any other tool can be used for good or for bad. They can distract people away from issues that they shouldn't be thinking about, and they can unite us. So like any good sports movie, remember the Titans, the Mighty Ducks, Miracle.
I have a full-on anecdote for this. Like I went to my first NFL game with Jeff.
Yeah, we went.
Yeah.
What'd you see? Wait, you saw with the Knicks?
The Giants.
NFL. I thought you said NBA. My bad.
Yeah,
Giants, nice, dude.
Yeah, and I turned up at this thriving car park and had complete strangers I didn't even know hand me a beer.
You took him to Meadowlands? Did you guys do the...
Just because I was there. And then we went in, I shared my sunscreen with a complete stranger who was so
That's right, it was hot that day. It was hot.
He was not going to survive 5 minutes in the sun. But it's like, we sat in the stands, we chatted with people around us. It was like all these people from many walks of life and, dare I say, extremely differing political and life views.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all set aside for 4 hours.
Like, we walked up and our friends just gave us beers just in the parking lot.
No, it was just like, oh, you're here to watch football. I'm here to watch football.
All right, so one of the scenes
and
in
so
the
loud,
last...
I hate it. Sports really do bring people together.
They really, they can. They definitely can.
Yeah.
They can also. If you're in Philadelphia, they can
also. They can also.
they
can also really ruin your fucking Thanksgiving.
What was that one quote? I had never heard that. I'm American, so I had never heard this quote. Rugby is a hooligan's game played by gentlemen, and football, soccer, is a gentleman's game played by hooligans. My little experience with international football, that seems like an accurate statement. I'm just gonna.
We could call it soccer on this pod, and you flipped it. It's the other way around, but man, that is exactly right, and that is really interesting.
Did I flip it?
Really
Rugby is a hooligan's game played by gentlemen.
No, it starts with soccer. Soccer is a gentleman's game played by hooligans. Rugby is a hooligan's game played by gentlemen.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Doesn't matter. The film's pretty good. I hope I never see New Zealand do that pre-game rugby tradition that they do.
The haka, come on, dude.
Dude, no.
Clearly you haven't seen Hobbs versus Shaw because...
No, that shit is amazing. It's amazing.
Have you seen Fast and Furious Hobbs versus Shaw yet? Have you seen it?
No, because it wasn't on our Fast and the Furious rewatch because it was a spin-off.
They do an entire haka before their final battle. You have to watch it. It's ridiculous.
I can't wait to see it. Dave, tell us a little bit about rugby before we go. How much rugby did you watch growing up?
Yeah, did you think that was good coverage? Because I'm not gonna lie, not knowing
Mm-hmm.
anything about rugby, the rugby coverage, like the actual film coverage, I was a little bit like...
It was a little off.
I have no idea what's happening. I don't know if he knows what... I don't know if Clint Eastwood knows how to play rugby.
Either. Like he did by the end of it. Apparently got hooked on rugby while making this movie. But
he was like,
I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing.
I can't see your face.
They toned down the brawling like crazy.
Oh yeah,
they
people
toned
like
it
die
down?
in brawls.
They
Sure.
Dude, look up State of Origin in Australia for State of Origin Rugby League. Look that shit up and watch some clips of that. That is what rugby is.
State of Origin fights,
guys. There's what else they
did?
Look, Clint Eastwood. It is family friendly. Almost every movie he makes now. He has the Spielberg effect a little bit after Unforgiven, basically. After Unforgiven, basically, it was like a little family friendly. The sound effects when he does slow-mos and people get hit, but the sound effects are more or less in real time, are unbelievable. They're video game sound effects. They're
when you're playing, that's what it sounds like.
I mean, it is so funny. That guy, Jonah Lomu, R.I.P., Jonah Lomu from New Zealand, and I'm not going to say the nickname of New Zealand.
The All Blacks. You can say their name. Come on.
I don't know. It's so weird.
The All Blacks.
That's still their name.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
They're fucking. They're still
I know
one of the
it's
dominant
their name.
teams.
Yeah.
What did you think about?
It's
what did you guys
here.
think about?
No, it's a reference to their jersey.
No, I know. It's just it's still weird to hear say out loud.
We haven't talked about him at all. What did you think of Matt Damon's very understated performance? Did it
nominate for an Oscar?
Did you feel like I kind of felt like he may have met that guy and he was like, "Oh, this guy doesn't talk much," and he just was like, "I'm not going to do much."
Yeah,
have you heard the story of when he met that guy? They just stood there looking at each other for like 3 or 4 minutes.
That was it.
There was no conversation. Yeah.
Guys, you got to
Matt Damon handle that?
His first thing after that was, "I'm much bigger on film," because he's apparently is nowhere near as big as this guy.
Yeah, kind of like Matt Damon, probably, right?
Yeah.
Matt Damon surrounded by those gigantic motherfuckers. There were dudes around him that had like 50, 60 pounds on him. He didn't stand a chance.
I thought Damon was great.
I want to ask you guys this question though: why did this movie not get the attention in 2009? Why didn't it get heralded? We enjoyed it.
It made some money. It got attention for the two of them.
But not serious content. I don't think anyone thought either of them were going to win.
They were nominated. No, not win.
I mean,
but,
it's
nominated for Oscars in a tough year like this.
It's about South Africa winning a World Cup and the end of apartheid. It's essentially, as far as America is concerned, a foreign film.
I mean, he's not wrong. It made $120 million worldwide. You know,
I liked. I really like the ones that involved the quotes I mentioned earlier. But I really like the scene where he called everyone in the room the first day he
the
walked
beginning.
in.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you feel the need to leave, that's your choice.
Yeah, it's cool.
But we need you.
Yeah, I thought it was cool too.
I really dug that scene because you could see everyone like, oh.
I loved how that. Well, all right, this is going to get really filmy, but there is one shot at the very end of that, and it's it's not super wide. It's not the whole room. It's the white side of the room. They had kind of segregated themselves when they came into that meeting. It's one of the last shots in that film. It cuts away from him, and it shows most of the white people. Pretty good direction for a bunch of fucking extras who were just showing up, and you get this random big general direction. I don't know if they pinpointed individuals. Some of the crowd reacted positively, and some of them did not. And it was very good. It didn't seem like general extra acting from a big crowd. It seemed like, oh wow, some of them actually.
Yeah, you get the impression some of them are going to leave. Yeah,
there was some good specificity in that, and that matters with storytelling like this when you're trying to show how a group of people, a country, may feel about a certain issue. It's something that you take for granted in filmmaking. I was thinking a lot about this in the extra scenes with all those football players, that one group of guys that were clearly conservative that Jeff, you said that he stuck his hand through and shook the guy behind them and said, thank you for waving the new flag. Good performances from people who were only there 1 or 2 days. I don't know. Yeah. That stuff does matter. It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And the guys who played Morgan Freeman's security detail are from South Africa. Their IMDb's are very short because of it. And they're awesome. That guy plays Jason, the head of security. He does a really, really nice job. It's good stuff. I was worried for a second. I was like, they're giving the security too much work here, like for the movie. Like, why do they care so much about the security? Are they just trying to up the stakes of like knowing that he's unsafe at all times? But it's actually really cool. Though, just the relationship that Mandela had with the people around him, and
also it's that one really payoff moment where they're finally like they're playing a game together.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, when they're all he looks outside.
And it's a symbol of what the country's doing.
I know this is obvious. This is low-hanging fruit, but he got me. I was still very moved when they went and gave the clinic to the children. I was like, "Come on, dude, that's not fair." They're so happy. They were so cute. They were so excited playing with them.
Chester.
What's the name of What's the name of Chester? Yeah, Chester.
I love Chester.
Oh my god, so good. Watch this movie, everybody. This is a good one to watch.
Absolutely, watch this movie.
This one's for rent. You got to rent this one. District 9 was on Netflix. This one you got to rent for about $3.99, but it's worth the price tag. It's cool.
Yeah,
and
it really is.
So now we're going to get to Avatar in a second. Now that we're feeling nice and loose. We've waited 10 years to talk about this movie because nobody had any intention of re-seeing it. Do you remember this movie went to streaming and they're like, you can see Avatar now? And everybody was like, why would I do that? I mean, the movie was made to be... No, the movie was made to be seen in 3D. Why would it just... You could see this for free. And I was like, there's a lot out there. No, but okay, I'm gonna stand hard for Avatar. Go fuck yourselves, guys. I'm gonna stand for it. I hope you're ready for it. Dave is gonna generate... Dave is going to generate a new year. That is right. We are going to have a new random year. Dave, take it away.
All right. So the year that we are looking at next week is... I've already called dibs on was it really that bad for next week? 2011.
My God. Still in the 2000s, folks.
We're still in the 2000s. I don't know what happened. But yeah, 2011.
2011 was
Drive. Drive came out. Do you guys want to watch Drive?
No, we need to give them. No, we need to make it work.
Contagion came out.
Okay, we'll discuss this and we'll come back, and we'll also discuss was Avatar really that bad?
All right, we'll see you in a second.
See you in a minute, folks.
We're back.
We're back.
All right.
All right. We have picked the 3 films from 2011 we're going to watch.
2011.
Friends, I promise you, we're not picking these dates. This is actually a random number generator. It could have been in the 1900s, but it wasn't again. So
We swore to just go with whatever number it spat out. So yeah, 2011 it is.
Also, we wished it was in 2011, but there are some good films that we're going to talk about. We'll announce them at the end of this episode. But first, we got to talk about Avatar. Avatar, now the second highest-grossing film of all time at the box office, recently surpassed by Avengers Endgame. Avatar came out the weekend before Christmas, 2009. So most of the money that it made was actually in 2010. Made
on my birthday.
On Dave's birthday. It made $2.9 billion? We're talking about a massive success. Yeah. I think a lot of what we know about 3D film releases and what people are willing to spend on movies.
Although when you're charging $30 for an IMAX 3D ticket, it's not that fucking hard to make $2.2 billion, is it?
Yeah,
2.9, Dave. I think it's 2.9. And but let's be real. When this film came out, or at least a year later, after the 2009 release. Number 1 and number 2 on the all-time box office list, James Cameron and James Cameron. You got Avatar edging out Titanic. So let's be real. This movie, to be honest, this movie was really fucking fun to watch in the theater if you saw it because the effects are awesome. And Dave's our effects expert on staff here. But that is... The effects are awesome. When they're riding the fucking horse... Like, he becomes an avatar. He becomes an avatar. The whole story... Like, okay, so here's what the story's about for those of you who saw Avatar and then completely forgot, because that's exactly what happened to me. So
tell us, Jeff.
Sam Worthington, who you guys may know as that guy who almost got 10 different film franchises off the ground. Sam Worthington
should be a preemptive drink.
He should be at home. He should be. I can't believe people don't know his name at home anymore. This guy has been in some of the biggest movies of all time. He's been in all of these huge franchises, and then we just can't fucking remember his name. Avatar 2 coming out 2021. Okay, so he wakes up in a pod. It kind of opens in like a dream, and then he wakes up in a pod on a spaceship, and we learn pretty quickly through some I don't think documentary, like some weird voiceover basically, where you don't know if he's journaling or if he's just speaking to the audience. And he basically says they've all been on the spaceship for almost 6 years. They left Earth because Earth had sucked its resources dry, etc., etc. And they're going to this planet. He doesn't know why. You find out quickly it's because his brother, who was a PhD scientist who had been training for this program, died the week before leaving. And they have the same DNA because they're identical twins. And we don't even know right away that the DNA is important because the avatar was actually made for his brother. So more or less, he's going to be uploaded into his brother's avatar, and they're going to mingle with this species that live in the woods. This is basically Pocahontas / Fern Gully. It's funny watching with South African themes that we have going on too, but for the most part, it's think Pocahontas, and he comes in as the avatar to just save the people. But what's really going on is, and we can talk about this in a little bit, the American corporation, whatever the fucking corporation was called, has bought out they've paid for this entire excursion, and they hired all these ex-military people to get this is the worst. I'm going to be a stan for this film, but this is the worst part of the movie. The name of the element that lives under the fucking soil is called the unobtainium. Can you buzz James Cameron for that?
I'm just gonna stop you on that one, because as it turns out, that's an actual term used in the military for something that needed to make something work that they don't have yet.
They could have come up with a better name, but I'm glad fine. They're paying homage to the real American.
That was also a sticking point for me back in the day, but it turns out that has a legitimate purpose.
Right. So anyway, we can talk
something
about
this week.
Unobtainium. We could talk about what is more valuable: unobtainium, vibranium, oil, diamonds. It's all the same shit. Who wants to get started with Avatar? I want to wait on John. Dave, why don't you go first?
All right. So just to set the scene, I did see this when it came out on my birthday.
Yeah.
I saw it in IMAX 3D because why wouldn't you? They were touting the 3D.
You had to.
I'm not even kidding. This was some of the best use of 3D I've ever seen in a film property to date. He really mastered what he was doing with it. The technology to make this film didn't even exist when they first pitched it. They had to wait years for it to catch up. He had to invent a whole heap of shit. And I have been in the time since a complete dick to this movie going, "Oh, I saw it in 3D. It uses that as a gimmick. It doesn't." And I'm sorry, I sat down and I watched this, and I was stuck to the damn screen. I watched the whole thing from start to finish. I loved it.
Dave,
it does not need the 3D at all. This is a great film.
I am with you. I'm with you. John has given the ugliest golf claps I've ever seen. I'm with you because I know that some of the script is shitty. Here's what I'm going to say. I watched this on Disney Plus. So you know what? It's a little cheesy and the script is a little shitty. Sigourney Weaver, man, they fucking blew that intro. She like sits up and like she's like, "Oh, I'm a smoking doctor. I don't need you. I need your brother who's smart." And I was like, man, this is Sigourney Weaver, aka Alien. Like the whole genre is like basically on Ripley's back. And they hire her and they give her a shitty intro and a terrible scene where Giovanni Ribisi is the villain in this, who's perfectly fine.
Twirling his mustache the entire time.
Yeah. A little snidely whiplash going on, but he explains to her the whole plot of the movie, and you as the audience are like, she should know this already, and you're like, oh, it's just a bad script. So yes, Dave and John, the script is not great. We know that. But you know what? Look,
I even didn't mind the script this time around. Like I was distracted by the 3D the first time I watched it. This time I settled into the story, and it's solid. Like it's a familiar story, yes, but I mean to say it's a ripoff of Pocahontas is unfair because there's so many stories that have gone down this line.
I'm not saying a ripoff, but it is.
No, but everybody did. Like those memes came out where they just replaced us. So people even made fan trailers where they put like the dialogue from Avatar in Pocahontas and vice versa. And it's like, okay, fair, but also not fair. Like this story's been told and retold forever.
Yeah.
And I think the other reason I'm giving this so much slack is because from a production design standpoint, this thing is fucking amazing. Like the environment design that went into all of this is absolutely phenomenal, and knowing how long that would have taken, I mean, just for Neytiri, for Saldana's facial dialogue and movement that they captured in camera. They didn't have the technology that auto-tracked it at that point. So they had to sit there and manually animate to match the tracking dots on her face. And it took a year to put her in the computer.
I mean, it's great. It's great.
So
and
it's like,
I talked to... go ahead.
I respect that. And I feel like I'm going to give it a little bit over the line for that because I really enjoyed it. It started to get a little slow during the battle at the end. I'm like, all right, come on, get to the point.
The battle was a little long. Good symmetry, good callbacks.
I really enjoyed this film.
Yeah, and I mean, back to what I was saying about District 9, Invictus didn't quite take the note for me, but for District 9 too, 15 minutes and he's in the Avatar. So look, maybe they spoon-fed you a lot of the exposition, but this is a 2.5 hour movie, and he wakes up at a pod, he's on a spaceship, he lands, he's former Marine, his brother was a PhD, yada, yada, yada. But who the fuck cares? We came to see Avatar, and he's in the Avatar in 15 minutes. All of a sudden, we're off and running. A mini-series would have spent at least a full episode on that, a full 60 minutes. This movie covered all that ground in 15 minutes.
God,
fucking, let's go. We're fucking rolling. I mean, and again, the battle's too long.
To its credit, it holds your interest. Like, because this movie is as long, pretty much, as the line is for the ride at Disney. So, like, it's it's an enormous long movie. There's a lot of stuff in there. But yeah, I really enjoyed it on a second watch.
I thought it was fun. Think about it like a Disney movie. John, go fuck yourself. I hate everything about you and who you are.
This might be the one time where I tell you to fuck yourself. We'll see.
All right, so I'm glad you used that analogy because the entire time I was watching this, I felt like I was standing in a line at Disney. I felt like that was exactly what I was thinking about. All right, first I'm not gonna shit on this. I agree with you guys. I was less disappointed than I thought I was gonna be because I have seen this.
Good for you, you brave soul.
Shut the fuck up. I have seen this twice since it came out, and just like every other James Cameron movie, kind of like Steven Spielberg and those other ginormous directors, I really do believe this is James Cameron's truth. So I don't discredit him. I see the passion. I see what he's trying to do. And I credit that. And I appreciate that. It's just a shame that he's not a better writer. And I mean that literally. Don't even buzz me for that, because I mean that literally.
Wait. Don't buzz me for that. That's a positive film criticism. You just fucking shat on James Cameron's writing.
That's the rules.
But that's the reason we have a fucking buzzer.
His filmmaking
you just
techniques.
proved why we have a buzzer.
Shut the fuck up. His filmmaking techniques
Buzzer.
great. And there were several times when I was sitting there watching stuff that didn't drive the story forward. There were just these big sequences that were fun in 3D. They were still okay on the television. If you have a pretty good television, a pretty good surround sound, or whatever your situation is, it didn't stop the movie. It just, what bothered me more is that man. I feel conflicted saying this because I really do think he sees storytelling this way. So I still recognize that is what he was trying to do, but he writes with a very broad brush. He writes in cliches. His bad guys are bad guys. His good guys are good guys. And I'm gonna call you out. It's not Pocahontas. It's fucking Fern Gully. Anyone who's
I said Fern Gully. I said Fern Gully.
They're the same.
I said at the beginning. I said Pocahontas or Fern Gully, and it's basically the same shit.
It is literally Fern Gully. It's just they have a few details that are changed. It's still James Cameron. The man knows how to make entertainment. I was still entertained, and I was still moved in some of the emotional parts. It was just, I just kept thinking the whole time, it's a shame that someone who has this kind of platform, this kind of vehicle, that is going to get every person on planet Earth into the fucking theater to watch a movie, which is very hard to do nowadays. It's almost impossible. Yeah. And he got so many people in. It's a shame he doesn't hire someone who's better at writing than he is. He's just not a... Come on, dude. Come on, give me a fucking break. You really think he's a great writer? You think he's good at writing?
No, but here's the thing.
Whether I agree or not, the buzzer has spoken.
Here's the real question. First of all, I don't know why I'm so compelled to say again that I mentioned Fern Gully. I don't know why I want that on record. I really want it. Second of all, here's the real question about this. Can you really cover that much ground in 2.5 hours, knowing that an hour is going to be a battle sequence, and write a conversation? That's my real question for you, because the conversations he should have had with Zoe Saldana
Are you literally?
Hold on, listen to me. No, listen to me. Listen to me. The conversation, because what you're saying is it should have been a miniseries. That's what I'm hearing, because the conversations to fall in love with Zoe Saldana, the princess of this tribe, who is betrothed basically to a different person, and he has to become an avatar and infiltrate this camp and fall in love with her, who's her teacher, while he learns the ways and he learns the language. I mean, how can you possibly do that in an hour, which is what they did?
You have already seen this movie. You have already seen this movie. There was not a single moment in this movie that challenged any audience member in the movie at all. And I'm just saying, if you're as genius as James Cameron is...
This is an entertaining film.
Hold on. If you're as genius as James Cameron is, and you have the ability to make a movie that is going to be compelling enough to get people to see it, do you literally have to write every single predictable cliche you can into a script? There is not a single moment of this script that challenged the audience member. And I would argue that the only problem with James Cameron's storytelling is that he doesn't challenge people enough. He has the ability to. That guy is a good filmmaker. He knows how to manipulate cinema to make you compelled and to pull you in. And I don't understand. He is convinced that he is a good enough writer. And he's not a bad writer. I don't want to pick on him. He's not a terrible writer. There have been worse writers. But for someone who is that genius at certain aspects of storytelling, he is not a very good writer. And there are script writers who could have taken this exact material and turned it into something that would have taken it from a 6 or a 7, maybe lower, if depending on how intense you are about your criticism of the script. He could have taken it up to something like a 7 or an 8, where he could have had a few moments in there, at least a few moments that would have challenged you. Otherwise, it was just a theme park ride. It was exactly what you were expecting, with the same elements that they teach in every fucking screenwriting playbook. And it was exactly what you thought it was going to be. Is that still entertaining? Yes, it's still entertaining. You're still going to enjoy it. I'm just saying that someone with that kind of credentials... Someone with that kind of credentials should be challenging us more. And I'm going to give Steven Spielberg some credit. He challenges you a little bit more than James Cameron does, I think.
True.
Someone who's in the same world with him.
You're right. This movie could have challenged people a little bit more. But this is where it landed. And you know what? All things considered, there's a percentage that he hires a screenwriter who overwrites it, and then it just becomes plotty and you don't care about the world. The world is still fun, even though the stakes aren't as high in this. So,
but that's
you're
what
right.
I'm saying.
It's not a 10 out of 10.
James Cameron is going to take care of the world. He's a good enough filmmaker. That guy is fucking good at what he does with world building.
But I don't think he didn't make any mistakes. So yes, he played it safe for sure. But that doesn't make it a 3 out of 10.
I'm starting to suspect
Buzz. He didn't make any mistakes. Are you fucking kidding me? He didn't make any mistakes in that script. Are you serious?
No, we don't buzz people for saying something you disagree with.
He didn't make any mistakes in that script. Are you serious?
John's being possessed by Scorsese, apparently.
I've already said the lines weren't good, but as far as the plot is concerned, he played it by the book. In fact, you were somebody who was a big proponent of playing it by the book when we talked about our franchise series. So he played it by the book, and then the script, the actual dialogue writing. Which
I said play it by the book when the book is Lord of the Rings. That is not this book.
Anyway, I'm just saying it was still an entertaining flick, albeit safe. But it's not like he made any moves in the script that derailed the entire structure or anything. It was a very unornate tree that was a really fun ride to be on. I thought it wasn't a 10 out of 10, but I think it settled somewhere around a 7 out of 10, and I think that was pretty fun for me. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I get it. I get that John likes something deeper from his entertainment.
That's what she said. But he loves Star Trek, and Star Trek missed. Star Trek is the best example because 2 out of the 12 films are just straight up bad. But for the sake of the fact that the other 12 films are great, it's worth the risk. But Avatar in this case was fail-proof.
I don't want to just sound like a contrarian. I just want to make sure you guys are appreciating what I'm saying. For someone who has that kind of power in the film industry, I want to go see one of the best movies ever made with one of the biggest budgets ever done, with one of the newest technology ever seen. I want to see someone match that with the writing, and I don't think he did that.
John's upset this wasn't the best movie ever made. John's upset this was not The Godfather, but for 3D.
No, I think he feels it's unfair that it was the highest grossing film for such a lot of time with some of what he interprets as lazy writing.
That doesn't make it a bad movie, but you're right. It's just not as good as it could have been.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie.
It could have been better. That doesn't mean it was bad. That's my thing. But the whole Avatar thing for me is everybody thinks this movie's bad. It's not bad. It just could have been better. And because it can obviously have been better doesn't
that does say something interesting,
less
though, right?
Experience.
That does say something interesting, though, right? That it's one of the highest grossing movies of all time, and it could have been better. And almost everyone who's seen it could admit that it could have been better. Why could it have been better? Do you think it's because of the story? Do you agree with me? Why could it have been better?
I have a feeling James Cameron knows that, which is what he told the studio that granted 4 more. Or 3 more.
I know it could have been shorter.
I mean, there are a lot of ways that it could have been better, yeah, but that doesn't mean that what was on the screen was bad. How many times I've been on a roller coaster was like, yeah, that could have been better, but, it's pretty fun. And, sometimes movies are like roller coasters, and if there is an example of that, it is fucking Avatar. Avatar is not the greatest roller coaster ever made, but it is one where most people who go on it had a good time.
It is not bad. I don't want it to sound like I thought it was bad.
It does sound like it. It does sound exactly like that.
Well, my 2 fucking co-hosts decided to fucking deep throat this movie, so I couldn't help but stick my face in here a little bit.
Deep throated this movie. We said it was better than we thought it was going to be.
You guys love this movie. James Horner's score.
I really enjoyed it.
James Horner's score ripped off The Lion King. It ripped off Adiamos by Enya.
The fourth interval, it was almost My Heart Will Go On every single time. Every time he introduced.
No, there were so many times that I thought it was going to be the Lion King one at the end where he becomes the king again and the 2 lions go back and forth. I felt like I heard that. Actually, no, that was Invictus too. I heard that in both of them, actually. There's a lot of Lion King.
So let me ask you guys a question. What the fuck do you think the next 4 movies are going to be about? Why is he making more avatars? Can anyone tell me that answer? Other than it made him money. Why the fuck is he making more of these?
I hope the answer to that is we'll never guess.
It's possible that in the world he created, he's realized that he's got more story to tell.
Yeah, but I don't know about 3 more stories. I think there have to be multiple planets. I can't imagine it all being on the same planet.
I know there's a massive underwater sequence.
That sounds awesome. That sounds really great. Well, because they're connected to all life things. So in a way he's got there are a lot of options he has going forward. Also, it made a ton of money, so obviously he was going to get at least 1 or 2 more out of it. The fact that he has 3 means that he has a longer story he wants to tell. And look, maybe he's going to take your note, John, and maybe he'll self-correct. If not, that's going to be really shitty. But it's possible. It's possible.
I don't think he took that note after True Lies, and then he wrote Titanic, and then he wrote Avatar. But I appreciate the possibility.
But he loves being underwater, so that underwater stuff is going to be really interesting, I bet.
Oh yeah.
Here's
There's
a little-
photos.
yeah.
There's photos online. Have a
He's
look.
one of like the 7 people to be the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
Mhm.
Again, I don't want to discredit that man. I really do think this is what he's going for. I just wish he had the humility to recognize I am genius at everything except for writing a screenplay. I am good with story. He's good with story. The big plot points I had no problem with. It's just the lines were the most cliche lines you've ever heard. Give me a break. Come on, you guys. You knew exactly what was about to come out of their mouths.
I already said that. Just remind me really quick. What's your favorite James Cameron movie since Avatar in 2009? What's your favorite James Cameron movie?
Has he made one?
Yeah, I think he might have read Twitter. I think he learned his lesson. I have a feeling he has something up his sleeve. And again, it could be possible that he's failed, but he has set us up with a world in which there is success as a possibility.
Jeff, clearly you haven't seen the Rolex commercials with him and Martin Scorsese. What's that fucking?
You can't judge people on those sellout commercials.
Academy, you know what I'm talking about though? When he's like standing in the world of Avatar, it's like, come on, I don't know. I have issues, guys. I want to celebrate it because I'm so happy that there is a movie out there that got everyone in the theater. That is so cool. There's an event.
For the record
movie.
now, we've established John does not like blue people.
Blue people.
Also, those blue people are tall
blue
and
man
hot,
groupies
man.
coming for you.
How convenient is it that they can all
No, I'm
connect to each other
defending
with
them.
those?
The Na'vi. I'm defending the Na'vi, dude. They
Wait.
deserved more, dude. He wrote the most cliche lines for the Na'vi. Come on.
How lucky are they that their like appendage vaginas never got cut off? Like, it's weird that they all connected to each other, but it was like a skin tag basically. Like, I can't believe
why are
they
you
survived
focusing
well.
on this?
Where
What
was
is wrong
his
with
dick,
you?
by the way? Where was they were walking around in those tiny little loincloths?
We
Hold
can't
on a
get into
second.
this.
This is
Can't get into this.
ridiculous.
Guys,
Yeah, no,
when
the hair was the junk.
When Sam Worthington gives the speech at the end at the tree of the white tree, whatever that was called, the dead tree or whatever, I really hoped he ended his speech. Today we celebrate our Independence Day. I was like really hoping he was gonna end his.
I just want to bring it back as well. Someone on the internet at some point in the years did make a very valid point that like the hair is the junk. So like they use that to.
Oh yeah, it's just
But they
weird that
also
like
use that
the
on their
birds,
animals.
humans, they all have the hair thing. It's just it's really interesting. They
a whole
basically
bunch of
plug in.
bestiality.
It's basically like electronics. Yeah, there's bestiality. Guys, the tree falling was really cool. With the way they built the tree and the way
I
the
didn't
tree
see that
fell
on the
was really
warning
cool.
at Disney.
The tree
battle's
falling
too
was
long.
really cool. It was terrifying. I mean, it was. Look, James Cameron's heart is in the right place. I get that.
John,
I get that.
keep
That
climbing
guy,
back up this ladder, John. It's fine. It's
No,
okay.
come on.
We know. No, we know where you're coming from. We know where you're coming
Essentially,
from.
I would
You
say give it a watch now before Disney Plus blurs out the hair junk.
Disney Plus, yeah, like, it's on Disney Plus for free. You might as well. It's long, but it's fine. It's totally fine. And you know what? I'd fuck Taruk too. What are the movies that we're gonna do next week, or what?
So when y'all watched this movie, you were totally fine. You were like, "This is totally fine with me. I'm totally fine."
Honestly, I'll be honest with you. My expectations were a little lowered.
Mine too.
Dave?
Mine too. It surprised me how much I enjoyed it.
But Dave, had you lowered your expectations and then you rewatched this and it succeeded
My
your lowered
expectations were through the floor when I came into this. I was like, because I
Same.
jumped on the bandwagon.
So you're saying the secret to enjoying this movie is to have super low expectations? Just to
It does
clarify,
help.
that's all.
It helps.
That's
It
all.
helps.
pretty
Wait,
much the secret to enjoying anything, isn't it?
All right, that's the secret sauce of Avatar. If you go in thinking this
secret
movie's
sauce to
going to suck,
anything.
you're going to be blown away, dude.
guys, things suck out there, and it's like, but here's the thing, it could be worse. That's basically what we're saying.
I totally agree. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I didn't hate it.
It's worth
It's worth watching. Everybody watch it. You're gonna watch. Everybody fucking watches a James Cameron movie every now and then. Everybody watches Titanic every now and then. Everybody
No, they
watches
don't.
Avatar. Every now and then. Yes, they do.
They still do.
They definitely
Because
still do.
everybody wants to be painted like one of their French girls, male, female, or otherwise. You want to be painted like one of the French girls.
Wearing this.
Also,
this is another one. It's a James Cameron movie.
that's a cheesy movie, but why did she throw the diamond in the water?
Shut up, Jeff. Shut up, Jeff. Don't shut the fuck up. Don't just shut the fuck. Why'd she let him go?
Yeah. That's a whole other podcast. Like they could have fit on that door.
No,
I'm
we
gonna- yeah.
haven't. Yeah.
Avatar it's still fun. I did not not enjoy watching it. It's a James Cameron movie. You're gonna have issues
It's
with
on
the
Disney
script.
Plus
You're
right
gonna
now.
be entertained
Did
as a
not-
motherfucker. It's
You
super
won't
compelling
not enjoy
filmmaking.
it.
Enjoy yourself. James Cameron, James Horner.
Next week,
together at last.
Next week, we're going to be
Next
talking
week.
about
Here we
2011
go.
films. We are going to be talking
I've been waiting for one of these. I've been
one
waiting.
of the highest grossing comedies of all time, Bridesmaids. We are going to talk about Bridesmaids. Fucking funny. We are also going to talk about, you know what, a movie that has aged very, very well. It was a very interesting genre spinning.
Brings us into the horror genre now. Finally,
It's a horror comedy. I mean, all horror films are comedy films, but this
all
knows that,
Joss Whedon horror films are horror comedies.
right? So this is Cabin in the Woods. So you got Bridesmaids, Cabin in the Woods, and then in our section, was it really that bad? We are going to be talking about The Green Hornet, starring Seth Rogen.
No, we're talking about Green Lantern.
Lantern, motherfucker.
did I say?
Jeff.
Not Ryan Reynolds.
Green Hornets.
Seth Rogen.
Oh, why
Right?
didn't somebody else
Isn't
do
that
the
the
intro
difference?
then?
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about The Green.
Hornet.
Right.
Right?
No.
No? The Green Lantern?
Did you guys not listen to a single fucking thing I said during the break? Like, seriously.
Well, I was wrong. Ryan Reynolds, Green Lantern.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
All of
don't get
I'm
me
literally
wrong.
only
The Green
picturing
Hornet-
the Murder Hornets. I
The
drank a
Green
lot of
Hornet
beer,
is
so
fucking terrible.
literally
That's
picturing
how
the
much.
Green Lantern.
That's how much this piece of shit movie mattered to us. Is that we can't even remember
I'm
the fucking
picturing,
title.
what if the Murder Hornets were green? That's what I'm picturing. We should turn them into a superhero. That's interesting.
No, fuck that Green Lantern. I'm coming for you next week.
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern. All right, this is Ryan Reynolds, right?
Yes.
Okay.
A movie that he derided himself in Deadpool.
Dave, you got to keep these. You got to keep this in the episode. You just
Oh
gotta
yeah,
do
this
it.
is staying. This is staying.
All
This
right.
was a colossal fuck.
James
Friends.
Cameron, don't fire me. Whatever.
Friends, contact us online and tell us if you're going to go to the movie theater to see Dunkirk or if you're going to wait to see just how many people got COVID from going to Dunkirk. Let us know.
The fuck? Dunkirk's already out.
Dunkirk.
Talking about Tenet. Did your notes
You drunk
close?
fuck.
What's happening?
Oh, Jeff, what are you drinking? What are you drinking? What are you drinking?
Let's see. I have a all-day IPA here. I have a Simpler Times. This is a Trader Joe's lager. Another Simpler Times. Another
Are you
all-day
double
IPA.
fisting those? What the fuck, dude?
How much did everybody
Um,
drink? I drank 4 Torpedo IPAs Sierra Nevadas.
this episode has been a travesty.
Let's get out of here. Let's get
It's
out of
been a
here.
travesty.
Guys, see you next week. So fun. I'm going to get my microphone back next week. I can't wait.
Avatar.